Oh, Jesus. Welcome to Still Talking Uncut. I'm your always available fill-in host, Uncle Joey. We lost Big Easy somewhere. I don't know. He might be in later. Up top in the corner, we got the one and only Master Distiller, Sean Rigsby. And in our right corner there, we got our favorite pal, Mr. Handy, reliable, Matt LeMaster, man. Matt's there for all of us when we need him. We love some Matt. Tonight, we have a guest from our home state, Watershed Distillery, Mr. Ryan Venrick, cast manager. Thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome.
Ryan froze up. And just as we go live, Ryan, there he goes.
There
All
he
right.
is.
There he
Sorry
is.
about that,
All
guys.
right.
Yeah, happy to be on, guys. Yeah, it's nice to meet everybody and get into talking all things Watershed tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know I'm a fan of Watershed. And how many years has Watershed been around, Ryan?
So we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary back in September. So Watershed got started with our two co-founders, Greg Lehman and Dave Rigo, and they kind of built the business to what it is today. It was just those two guys for the longest time, so they didn't actually start hiring people to work in the business until I think it was 2016. So it was just the two of them hustling, slinging booze, doing what they could to, build the business. And then 15 years later, we're up to about 60 employees at Watershed. And yeah, we're not looking back at all. We're still pushing forward.
Hell yeah. So on this podcast, we like to talk about, we usually have most of us, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't if we're got early work days, but what we're sipping on tonight. Myself, I've got a bottle of Watershed that I picked up for the Bourbon Fest this past summer. It's the 7-year single barrel select. It was the 15th anniversary special edition bottle they had there. And it is absolutely amazing. If you were able to attend that event and get this bottle, you're pleased because it's a good solid drink, man. I'm enjoy some right now.
Yeah,
awesome.
I was over
that
there.
was a great single barrel.
Bottle. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we got a lot of the team to try it, and it was a pretty rigorous process where I'd send some samples out to the team, get feedback on what was good, what was bad, swap some more samples in, and ultimately every time I sent a group of samples out, that barrel was in the selection, and there was about 75% selection rate on that barrel. So it made it pretty easy to have that one be the bottle that we do for the fest.
Man, how do you get in that little group? How do you get in the group where Ryan's dropping off samples? Here, try this. So let me ask you that. Do you guys have like a crew at Watershed that, do you guys go outside of Watershed? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say about 90% of the responsibility as far as flavor and what you taste in each bottle falls directly on me. And the other 10% is me, sending out samples to the team saying, hey, taste this. Is there anything off about it? What do you like? What don't you like? Listening to that feedback, making my tweaks to certain blends, or swapping in single barrel cases, swapping in some different barrels. But yeah, ultimately 90% of what you guys taste from our aged portfolio category comes from me.
Hell yeah.
So how many barrels a day do you guys produce there?
Yeah, so we're doing we were doing about 1,000 barrels a year. Obviously, with the state of the industry the way it is, we've scaled back a little bit for 2026. So we're going to produce about 600 barrels total this year. That's across all our portfolios: bourbon, brandy, rye, a little bit of single malt. But we have the capacity to do up to about 1,200 barrels a year if we are full go, balls to the wall.
So you said something that does interest me a little bit. Brandy. So is it grapes? Is that the kind of fruit you guys use for that, or?
No, we produce an in-house apple brandy. So all of our we produce it from cider, and all of our cider comes from Northern Ohio.
Okay.
So all the fruit stays within the state. The product is 100% Ohio made, 100% Ohio distilled, 100% Ohio aged. And then we release it at 2 to 4 years old.
Nice. I'm gonna have to try some of that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have that year round, or I mean, as far as for purchase?
Yep, we do. Yeah, we distribute that. It's in most of our OHLQ retail stores. You can also find it on site at the distillery if you're ever in the area. Stop in and get you a bottle there. But yeah, we make that. It's about a 4-month brandy season. We're actually in the middle of it right now. So from January to about April is when we get all of our cider in from the farmer. So we're right now at the distillery. We've got some firms going of some cider. We just finished doing some stripping runs last week. We're going to start into some spirit runs this week. And then, yeah, those will start going into barrels the following week after that.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Hold on, I'm going to get this shared into a couple groups that I'm in real fast. Keep talking.
So,
yeah, what else you guys want to know? So we can talk barrels, we can talk distillation, whatever you guys however you guys want the conversation to go. We're
here to
touch on
listen
a
to
little
you.
bit of everything.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. Like, how did you go to get into the business you're in?
Totally. That's a great question. That's actually a story I love to tell people. So I don't come from the industry at all. My background before I started at Watershed was in warehousing, pick packing, mostly like warehouse logistics, things like that. And when I tell this story, I always give the 100% of the credit to then my girlfriend, now my wife. We had been dating for about a year.
So you'd be in trouble if you didn't.
Absolutely. So we've been dating for about a year. We were just getting ready to move in together. And I just told her one day, I said, you know what? I can't do this warehouse crap anymore. Like it's not fulfilling. Working 12-hour days, 6 months out of the year, 5 days a week. It's not the way to go for me. And I'd been collecting for years before that. Ever since even before I was of age to drink, I was doing some collecting back then. She said, why don't you try and find some distilleries that are hiring? I gave her kind of a funny look and said, there's no bourbon distilleries in Ohio. You got to go to Kentucky for that. Which is hilarious because there's now one of the biggest bourbon distilleries in the nation at Middle West. So, I heard her out a little bit and it's like, okay, let's do a quick Google search and see what comes up. And, Middle West came up, Watershed, Echo Spirits, High Bank, all the main Columbus staples. So Watershed was looking for somebody. They had a bottling line position open. So I put my resume in for that. They called me the next day. Shocker that they would want somebody on their bottling line that's done warehouse logistics all their life. So that was kind of a perfect fit. And then I started 2 weeks later. Never heard back from the other guys. So it was kind of, this was a one and done. They said, let's do it. And I said, okay, let's see what happens. So start on the bottling line. And with all that warehouse experience, it was fairly easy for me. It was kind of one of those experiences that I was just trying to get a foot in the door, learn some things from people, see how the businesses run, see how the industries run, things like that. And a lot of credit goes also, once I got the job, to our head distiller at the time, Aaron Harris, which coincidentally is now the master distiller at Green River.
We've had him on.
If you guys didn't know that, he used to be a Watershed guy.
We actually had him on, and dude, he was a hell of a guy, man. He talked very highly of his time at Watershed. Yeah, he really did.
Absolutely, yeah, he's a hell of a guy. A lot of the credit once I got into Watershed, I give to him because he was just open to all opportunities. He's definitely a guy that if he sees somebody that wants to pursue knowledge, experience, he's like, absolutely, let's do it. I was on the bottling line for about a year. While working on the bottling line, I would do some projects with Aaron, do some single barrel selections with him to give to the sales team. He let me sit in on a few blends that he would do for some of our core portfolios, and that was a lot of fun. Aaron departed us in about August of 2022. And I literally, the following month in September would have been my 1-year anniversary. And so when Aaron let us know he was leaving, I went to Greg, one of the owners, and said, hey, I see a need here. I've been working with Aaron. I think I can fill this need. Give me this opportunity. I'll show you what I can do. And it takes a lot of balls for somebody to give someone an opportunity like that that's never been in the business. But Greg, from the guidance from Aaron, Greg's trust in his people, he said, let's try it. Let's see what happens. So they let me do a couple blends. They loved it. And then from there, it's just that's all she wrote. I've never looked back. And that was 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, since then, August 2022, I took over all the cask manager responsibilities, kind of created my own job, essentially. There wasn't a cask manager at Watershed at this point. It was mostly the responsibilities of the head distiller. So Aaron was doing all the blends, all the single barrels, deciding on the cask programming, barrel management, inventory. So when he left, I took over those responsibilities and created my own job. So I do all of the barrel fills, all the barrel harvests. I decide on the cask programming, so what char levels they're going in, what age eligibility all the barrels are going to be put in their selected portfolios. All that responsibility belongs to me. So, yeah, like I said, ever since then, just kind of been enjoying the wave and enjoying the ride.
Just real quick, the nose on this anniversary bottle, dude. Are you sipping on the same thing, or what do you got going on?
No, so I've got a little bit of bottled and bond tonight. I got it sitting right here beside me. Just our core portfolio, bottled and bond.
That's the very first bottle of Watershed I ever bought was the bottled and bond, and it knocked my socks off. I was like, holy shit, this is made in Ohio. I mean, I had no idea, man.
Oh yeah. There's a really fun story I like to tell people too. Before I started, it was right in the middle of COVID in 2020. Greg took the sales team down to Kentucky, and they were hitting some distilleries here and there. They went to a couple of the legacies. They went to Buffalo Trace, Wild Turkey, and they got to do a sit down with some of the other industry people from those distilleries, and they did a blind of just some different whiskeys, and they brought a bottle down. And during this blind, everyone was pretty unanimous on the bottle they liked, and it was our bottled and bond. And that's when Greg had this like, holy shit, this could be something big here. And so, bottled and bond is my favorite portfolio that we make. It's just an easy sipper, solid, 100 proof, tons of flavor. It's very sweet. Our profile has a lot of caramel, a lot of vanilla. And then the secondary component to that, to me, is the red fruit. So I get a lot of like dark cherry, red delicious apple, things of that nature. So this one, whenever I'm not doing blends at work, or if I want something, from my own portfolio, this is usually what I pour.
I can definitely say, you said caramel forward. This bottle that I have, as soon as you throw your nose under it, it's just a sweet toffee caramel. I mean, 100% brown. I mean, it's amazing. The nose on this bottle is really good. And then when it hits the palate, it's a good drink the whole way through, from the beginning to the middle to the finish. It's got the burn, but it's not a ridiculous burn. I don't know what the proof is on this. This is
it's probably 130s, I think.
Yeah, 65.9. So yeah.
Wow. Now that
I always tell people too, the longer that these bottles sit open and you let it breathe, the sweeter it gets. That caramel just gets deeper and richer and deeper and richer.
Yeah, this is one of those bottles that I'm glad I have, and I share all my stuff. I don't like to not let some people enjoy bottles like this, especially. I would drink all of this if I would let myself, but I don't, because when people like Matt and Sean and any of my bourbon drinking friends, I want to share this with them. And I think that's one of the neat things about bourbon, like to myself, what I like to do with it. I like to share it. When I find something that I really like, I like to share it with people that have never had it, that have never maybe even had the brand. They've never had any Watershed. And I felt like when you do that, I'm giving them some of the best stuff that they, the top stuff. So bourbon's there's so many things to it. It's shooting the shit with the fellas, but it's also sharing and creating new friendships as well. So I'm sure you enjoy your job. I know I enjoy just being at Watershed, the environment. It's a really cool place, man. It really is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's, I mean, what other job in the world can you say that you get to taste whiskey all day. Not many, right? So
Not
I'm
very
very,
many.
very appreciative, very privileged, very blessed. Yeah, it's one of those that if you had asked me 10 years ago where I would be in 10 years, not a chance, I would say, being a head blender and cask manager at a distillery.
So
No shot.
we have a comment here. It says, curious what he thinks about or thinks is the most undervalued role at a distillery.
That's good.
This is a very easy question. Our bottling team. You know, if our bottling team doesn't show up or
Yeah.
if they don't stay on schedule, our product's not going out the door. I cannot praise those guys enough. Isaac Fuller, our production manager on the bottling line, knocks it out of the park all the time. Rarely do we ever see a drop in schedule. And then Tyler Prince, he's one of our bottling associates. These guys show up day in and day out. It's not a glamorous part of the job. It's very, very undervalued. But these guys show up every day, get the job done, and make sure product keeps going out to the shelves.
Well, listen, let's
So,
give a shout out to the bottling team. Hell yeah. Shout out
bottling
bottling
team. Yeah. Cheers, guys.
We appreciate you because without that, I couldn't be drinking this delicious bottle of Watershed right now.
100%. And people don't talk about the production and logistics team enough. You know, like I said, if they're not bottling, products not going out. If our Isaac pulls double duty, so he takes care of all of our shipping. If he's not shipping things on time, we don't get product out to the state warehouses. Casey Snyder, our logistic manager, if he's not paying attention to our stock in the warehouses, we're running out of product. So
Right.
kudos to those guys, you know, doing all these things behind the scenes that nobody sees. They get the real credit.
Hell yeah. Sounds like you guys got a solid team there, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if we're small, there's only I think it's 8 of us total across distillation, maturation, and bottling. But this is the best group of guys I've ever worked with in my career. Across any job I've ever had. Everybody shows up day in and day out. Everybody's passionate. We're not afraid to have the hard conversations with each other. Like, hey, this doesn't look right. You know, that can be really, you know, hit and miss in other environments and could be toxic in other work environments. But we all work well together and we're all passionate about reaching the same goal. So it's pretty easy. It comes naturally.
So, you know, being cast manager, you run through some barrels. Everybody probably has that question. What happens with that barrel that you're just not pleased with, man? Does that, you know, does that get run back in and you guys end up rerunning that? You know, what does happen with that? Because I know it happens. There's got to be a place in the warehouse that may not do as well as some other, you know, I know that's why there's probably a rotation as well. You guys probably rotate your barrels, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so we actually don't rotate any of our barrels. Jason, I know you've been there on site. So we actually store all of our barrels are top fill. So they're stored upright. They're not on their sides. The reason we do that is we can fit more barrels in the same footprint. And because our aging environment is a warehouse style, the environment itself is pretty stable. It's pretty flat across the board as far as, you know, the top row of barrels getting more heat than the bottom row, ventilation, things like that. So all of our barrels mature kind of at the same rate and the same pace in the same environment. And then we control the raw material factor of that to get our different flavors. So different char levels, different toast levels, different ages, different entry proofs. All of that has an effect on your final product as well. So we more or less control that factor to manipulate our flavors as opposed to just the raw environment.
So the warehouse, for the most part, does it stay pretty much a solid, consistent temperature? You know what I mean? Or is there a section that's like hot as, you know what I mean? Is it because it was a pretty big warehouse, but it kind of felt when we were there pretty consistent. You know what I mean? Like it pretty felt.
No, that's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah, because it is a warehouse, the temperature does stay the same, but we don't have any sort of temperature control units in there. So a couple weeks ago when it was 0 degrees outside, it was about 20 degrees in the warehouse, which going back to the bottling line guys, you know, that's not very fun for them. But it's great for barrels.
Oh, absolutely. The process. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So while the barrels are subject to the same maturation environment, we still do have those temperature swings where, you know, it is cold in the winter. It does get up to about 90 degrees in the summer. So nothing crazy hot, which I think works to our advantage because as you do get up to those extreme temperatures, you're going to get a lot more harsher tannin extraction. So right at that 90-degree level for us is kind of a honey hole, so to speak. The entire warehouse is just a giant honey hole.
Hell yeah.
But going kind of back to your question, Jason, about what do I do with those? We'll use the phrase I use the phrase at work, subpar barrels, you know, below average. That's where I have to get creative, especially with the stock of we have 4,000 barrels, about 4,300 barrels total in the warehouse. That's across all portfolios, all spirits. So yeah, we really do have a limited stock when you look at Buffalo Trace, who has 2 million barrels aging on their property. So yeah, it just comes down to whenever I taste barrels, I keep detailed notes on everything that I taste with the date, the time, what flavors I get. I proof the barrels as I'm going, and I have a spreadsheet of all this information. So I'll monitor a barrel for, you know, if I taste it and, you know, it's lacking somewhere or it's just not where I need it to be, I'll give it another, you know, temperature cycle. So I'll give it 6 months to a year, see how it changes, see how it doesn't. And then we start to make decisions on, okay, this barrel's 5 years old, 5.5 years old. Do we need to try to turn it into a single barrel? Is it unique enough to be a single barrel? Do we need to try to blend it out? So those are all decisions that I have to make. And it's all very detail oriented about just keeping track of what the barrel's given me.
So I'm going to interrupt you. You sparked an interest in me. So what makes it become a single barrel? So it's all barrels are the same. They start the same process and they hit a certain point and then they become, this could be a good single barrel candidate.
Yeah, totally. So what I'm looking for, typically I'll pull single barrels for the program while I'm doing bigger portfolio blends. So in a sense, I'm cherry picking a little bit for the single barrel program, but that's kind of what you need. You need all rock star barrels to go into that program.
Yeah.
So keeps people coming back. What I look for is something either very off profile, not necessarily in a bad way, but maybe it's got this intense red fruit note, or it's got this super intense bready note to it, or what have you, just something super unique. Or it's just an overall rock star barrel. So it checks all the boxes, you know, it's drinks below its proof, has good color, has outstanding flavor. Then those all get kind of pushed to the single barrel program. Sometimes I'll pull barrels back out of the program to put into blends, just depending on what profiles I'm looking for, or if I need something very specific that I'm looking for a blend, and I know I've got that in a single barrel in the program, I'll pull it back out and slot something else in. So it's kind of amalgamous, you know, it's an ebb and flow, constantly evolving program.
It sounds like you stay busy.
I stay very busy. I stay very busy.
I get so confused.
It really is a full-time job. I have a lot of fun, but at the same time, it is a job.
I picture you with a laptop or a tablet on your arm at all times.
Yes, sir. Whenever I'm in the warehouse, I've got my laptop with me. I've got it sitting on my desk. Like it's glued to the hip with me. If I need to look for information on a barrel, I can do it. You know, with it, I can get you information on it within a few seconds.
So does Watershed do like barrel pick programs where a group can come in and pick barrels? Do you guys offer that yet, or have? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've done a lot of work with, you know, other clubs that in Central Ohio bourbon enthusiasts have picked a couple barrels from us. And a couple other good groups that do good promotion with us. We do a lot of restaurant group picks. So if you go to a restaurant somewhere in Columbus and they've got a Watershed cocktail, sometimes their bourbon cocktail that's on the menu is from a single barrel they selected. That's pretty popular. But yeah, we try to keep everything open and accessible as much as we can with the single barrel program. Being Central Ohio, we try to take care of our Ohio market first. And then we kind of allow those outer market states to come and get barrels as well. So we try to make it as accessible and as easy as possible for everybody.
Do you know how much a roundabout like a barrel pit costs? Something like that. I've never.
Yeah,
done
so
anything
we
like
we
that.
typically no, that's a great question. So we typically charge by the bottle. So our single barrel bottles at Watershed run $59.99, and we usually get about 200 bottles per barrel, give or take age, give or take proof. But that simple math right there comes out to around $10,000 to $12,000 right there for a single barrel, and that's for every bottle. Obviously, we've had groups in the past come in and do a pick, and they only take so many cases. We
Mhm.
try not to do that too much because then we're responsible for selling the other half out of our bottle shop. But all in, give or take 200 bottles at $59.99, you're looking about $10,000 to $12,000.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So
Now-
what? Go ahead, Uncle Joe.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you what's your average proof that you guys barrel at or go into the barrel? I'm sure you probably have different ones for different things, but
Yep, absolutely. So our bourbon portfolios, our standard entry proof is 115. We've noticed at that entry level, we are able to retain a little bit more sweetness from our high rye mash bill. So our standard bourbon mash bill is 72% corn, 21% rye, which is considered a high rye mash bill, and then 7% malted barley. So going in at that little bit lower entry proof allows us to get a little bit more water soluble sugars out of the wood. Allows us to maintain a little bit more sweetness as it ages. Now on our rye, we do an 85% rye mash bill. We're actually going in at 110 on that guy. So a lot lower than your maximum entry proof of 125. We're still waiting on that to mature a little bit. We've only got about 2-year-old stuff of the 85 rye. And then our single malt is actually going a little bit stronger at 120 because we're mostly using used barrels for that. So about 80% used barrels, 20% new oak. So it is it kind of jumps around here and there. Just depends on what our needs are and what flavor profiles I'm kind of shooting for.
Oh yeah. So where do you guys get most of your barrels from? Do you guys get them? Is it an Ohio company? Is it do they most?
Yeah. So we're very, very, very blessed and very lucky that I'm sure you guys have heard of Speyside Cooperage. They have their main cooperage is in Scotland. The kind of mother companies in Scotland, but they have a bourbon cooperage down in Jackson, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half south of the distillery. So
Yeah.
very fortunate that whenever we need barrels, we just give them a call and they send them right up. They're all ready to go for us. So assembled, toasted, charred. They ship them to us. All we have to do is fill them. So very, very lucky that we've got a cooperage that close to us.
So on the char level, do you guys use a specific char, or does it vary? I heard you say different chars for different things. So explain a little bit about what chars you use for what, if you could.
Yeah. I love talking about cask science and cask chemistry. This is my bread and butter of my job, right? There's so much flavor manipulation that you can do just with the barrel, and obviously in the maturation environment. So historically, up till about 2023, we used exclusively char 5 barrels. So that in itself is very atypical because usually you hear if you go to Kentucky, those guys are almost exclusively using char 3s and char 4s.
Mhm.
Yeah, 3 and 4 is very popular.
Yes, absolutely. We use char 5s at Watershed historically because we didn't always have a column still. We used to just have the pot still, and typically, if your cuts aren't right dead on, you can get a little bit too headsy, a little bit too much tails in there. With the char 5, that adds a little bit extra char layer to those barrels and is able to filter out some of those congeners that you don't necessarily want. Now, you heard me just say we used to just have a pot still. Now we have a column still. We bought a column still back in 2017. And when they bought that column still, there wasn't ever any big, question of, hey, should we think about changing up the char level? It was always just, we've established the char level we like. This is the entry proof we want. Let's, rock and roll. Because once it goes in the barrel, everybody forgets about it except me for about 4 to 5 years. And so that's when I started asking questions like, hey, guys, why are we using the same char level as we are for the pot still as we are the column. The column gives us a lot cleaner distillate. We're able to take in, pull out, and leave in different chemicals at different boiling points. Like, why can't we use a little bit less aggressive char layer and see if we can manipulate different flavors? That was a tough one to get by, a tough one to push on to leadership, because they started making bourbon in 2012 and they used char 5s from 2012 to 2023. That's all they did for 11 years. So that one took a really long time to convince leadership, like, hey, this is a good idea. This is going to make us more diverse, diversify the portfolios. We're able to play with different flavors. And finally, after about 3 to 4 months of, setting up meetings, showing them the science, showing them the practicality of it, I got to go ahead to, kind of do what I wanted. So 2023 comes around. And now we're going into our portfolio. We use chars 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s now. So it's a much more diverse portfolio. About 70% of it is chars 3s and 4s. And then we have 20% going into char 5s and 10% going into char 2s. So the main portfolio is going to kind of change from that char 5 to those 3s and 4s, but we're going to be able to get different flavor manipulation with that and be able to produce more than just one kind of flavor that's really, really sweet with, that red fruit. And that's coming down the line. I'm really excited to get some of those barrels matured so we can start putting some different stuff out in the market.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole grand scheme of the char program. We also have a different toasting program that I can go on and on about that as well. We do different toast levels. We mostly are doing medium and heavy toast. Predominantly, I would say medium toast at the moment. But yeah, also playing around with those toast levels and the different age staves as well. So we used to only go into a 6-month open air season stave. Now we're going into an 18-month open air season stave. So just so many variables that can influence your end product. It's fascinating. I could talk about it all night. I'm sure people kind of get bored with talking about barrels, but it's my bread and butter. I love talking about cask chemistry.
So
you're probably in the right place. I mean, we're mainly a Shiner podcast, but man, a lot of these guys like to age their own stuff. A lot of these guys, there's a lot of these guys that do drink bourbon and they like to make their own stuff. So, you probably do spark a little
right
interest
now.
talking about that.
So do you guys use all 53 gallon barrels, or do you do any 30s or 10s or anything like that?
Yeah, so we only use they're called ASBs, American Standard barrels, which are 53 gallons. The only time we use bigger barrels is if it's for like a finishing project and it's an X wine barrel or something. Those are almost exclusively 59 gallon barrels. So the bulk of our portfolio is in 53s.
What did we see down there at Neely's? Didn't he have like a 60-some gallon barrel down there, Sean? It was a monster, man. I'd never seen a barrel that big.
I think a cognac or something like that. I don't know.
It was a monster, dude.
Yeah, some of these like sherry barrels that are coming from Europe and these French wine barrels, they're called French punchons, spelled and looks like punchin. Those can get up to like 150 gallons per barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's all different shapes and sizes, and that in itself, just the shape and size, that'll affect your flavor as well. There's a lot of decisions you have to make.
So, what you talked about, they changed the still. Let's talk a little bit of that, if you could. When they went from a pot still to a column still.
Yep. So today in 2026, we use 2 different distillation methods. So we have a 2,000 liter pot still from Germany, and that mostly distills our gin and vodka. Does a little bit of brandy and a tiny bit of experimental bourbon if we have some experimental runs that we're doing. And then we have our column still, continuous column. So that runs almost all of our bourbon. Like I said, it's about a 95% 5% split. So 95% on the column, 5% on the pot. And then the column also runs a little bit of brandy, does all of our rye whiskey. We don't do any rye whiskey off the pot. And then the pot also does all of our single malt. So yeah, our continuous column, it's a 12-inch diameter column. It's fed by 4 2,000 gallon fermenters. So it takes us about 24 to 27 hours to run a fermenter. Depends on how many gallons per minute we're running. But we can usually go through a fermenter in about 24 hours.
So
and yeah,
you guys run where it's just constantly feeding in. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. So just constantly. Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. With the continuous column, once one fermenter runs out, they just hook up to the next one, and it runs. Right now, our schedule, we used to be running 24/5, so 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. Now we've cut back to about 24/3, and then Thursday and Friday are just kind of maintenance days. But yeah, Monday to Wednesday, that machine never stops.
So what's a good day to come up and take a tour around?
Yeah, I would say if you want the days where there's the most amount of action going, I would say Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. That's when the stills are hot, the stills are running, usually pulling some sort of barrel samples out of the warehouse. I usually do all my barreling on Fridays, just because I need a lot of space to do that, and that's when it's the quietest typically.
Right.
So you won't catch any barrel fills unless it's on a random Friday. But probably Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, the best days to come, and that's when the most action's happening.
Hell yeah!
Now, do you guys serve food and stuff? Like have a restaurant there, or is it just a distillery itself? Or
so unfortunately, our restaurant had to close in early October. Just never really recovered from COVID. The state of the industry right now for spirits, it's arguably just as hard for food and beverage food right now as well. So unfortunately, our restaurant isn't open anymore. But we still have our standalone bottle shop that's there. You can come and take some samples of whatever spirits you want while you're there. But yeah, unfortunately, we did have to close the restaurant.
Damn, I was sorry to hear that. There for the Bourbon Fest, that restaurant was packed, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those guys always did a great job, and we were sad to see it close, but it's one of those that the writing was kind of on the wall. But we'll keep pushing through.
So we have a question here from O'Sheen Smith. I'll ask it. He said, "What are your thoughts on selling through the state? Is there anything you would want to see done differently in that process?" I know we hear a lot of people. You guys may not have the issue, but Ohio is kind of a difficult state. We've got some fellows that we know that are trying to open up distilleries, and they don't make it very easy on them. So is it a pretty easy process for you guys to deal with the state?
Yeah, mostly what I have to do, it's very easy for me because I don't deal with the state. It's mostly the other guys on my team. I've heard back and forth. I think it kind of depends on what kind of relationship you build with the state. If you don't have a great relationship, I'm sure it's hell. But part of what Greg and Dave did when they built the business is they build it on community, they build it around people, on culture. So we have an outstanding relationship with the state. And usually if we ever have any questions, they're easy to get a hold of. On the flip side, I've definitely heard horror stories of, smaller distilleries reaching out and just getting no response, or they go to do something and the state really cracks down on them, they get audited. So I think it just kind of depends on, you as a distillery owner and building that relationship with the state.
So to get off topic real quick, what's your opinion on, not really off topic, but what's your opinion on the state of the bourbon industry, the world right now? You see some distilleries closing, you see some struggling. In my opinion, and this is just what I've always said, I feel if you make a good product, your distillery is going to survive. And it comes down to your marketing, your sales team. It comes down to everything. And I feel like you guys have a good thing at Watershed. And I don't think you guys are going to be going anywhere anytime soon. I think you guys are well distributed in our state. Now, do you guys distribute outside of our state, or how does that whole process work as well?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot to unpack there. I'll start with kind of
hit you with a two-parter there.
I'll kind of start with the state of the industry. It's definitely no secret that the bourbon boom, that bubble has popped. The economy doesn't help that. People are spending less. There's a lot less disposable income to go around. You see places like, Jim Beam closed their main distillery down, their big powerhouse factory for a year. Who else? You saw, I know Balcones out of Texas isn't producing in 2026. So those are kind of big things that make you go, wow, it's that serious. Now on the flip side, you do see some growth. You do see distilleries that are growing. Bardstown, I think, reported some growth in 2025. I just read something today. Actually, Whiskey Thief Distilling is reporting growth from 2025. So I think you're absolutely hitting the head of the nail with that, Jason. It depends on how good your product is, how good your marketing is. I think it's easier for the smaller guys right now, definitely. Slightly. It's not easy by any means in the state of the industry, but as far as being able to recover, I think it's a little. Craft distillers are able to pivot easier than the bigger guys are. So I would say I think you're absolutely right. It depends on, your marketing. Is your product good? And I think there is room to grow in 2026. It's just going to be a hustle and a dogfight.
So my other question, do you guys distribute outside of the state, or you guys, most of your stuff, is it in here in the state of Ohio?
Our biggest market obviously is Ohio. We do distribute. We're in 11 markets outside of Ohio. Our second biggest market being Georgia. And then it comes to Illinois. Chicago is a big market for us. And then we're also in New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Kentucky. We're getting ready to open Florida this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all in all, it's about 11 different markets. But our big three are Ohio, Georgia, and Illinois.
I mean, that's awesome that you're in that many markets, and that right there alone, again, you must be doing something right. So,
yeah,
kudos
absolutely.
to Watershed, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It's I don't know what it is about Georgia, but those Georgians love our product for some reason. Our bourbon specifically, it's our second biggest bourbon market outside of Ohio. So we're doing something right for those guys.
I know we have a lot of Ohioan people that live down south, so maybe you got a bunch of us down there that have had Watershed before, and they know what's good, so they want it down their way.
Absolutely.
So, any future plans for anything new at Watershed, or are you guys just hammering out the tried and true products that you make?
Yeah, so we obviously we do our fall finishing series every fall. So October, November, December, we usually have some sort of finishing project going on. We do have our rye whiskey lottery coming soon. I believe that's going to open at the end of this month, beginning of March. That bottle is going to be a 9-year-old rye whiskey, distilled, aged at Watershed. It's going to be the oldest product we've ever released. So super excited for that. We have some really exciting finishing projects coming in 2027. We already have everything locked in for 2026, but 2027, I'm really excited to get some new stuff in there. I can't exactly say what it is yet, but I can say that it's going to be collaborations from outside of the United States. So that's going to be really, really exciting, and I'm looking forward to the finishing projects for 2027. But outside of that, we're just, we're bourbon focused, trying to put away some rye whiskey, doing a little bit of single malt distilling. So staying tried and true to the bourbon, but still doing some fun stuff on the side.
Now, not to cut you off, but so now you're talking about single malts and bourbons and such. Do you guys offer any of your, white dog?
That's a great question. We do not currently in 2026. There was talks back in 2021 about doing some white dog, but it just kind of fell through the cracks and never really came out to anything. That's not really our business strategy to release white dog. A lot of bigger corporations do that just because they're producing exactly. They're producing millions of proof gallons a year, where if they have some runs where they just, really do a bottle shop release, that's not going to hurt them. For us, because we're only able to produce, 6 barrels a day, we really are trying to put away as much as possible. So if we take away from that stock to put in the bottle shop, that really is going to hinder our maturation potential and our maturation numbers.
Yep. Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How many barrels are you going to be aging the past 2 or 3 years? Have you already aged whiskey? There are lots of questions tonight, man. We don't usually get this many questions. People are interested in this.
Awesome.
I said, how many barrels are you going to be aging past 2 or 3 years? Have you already aged whiskey past 10-year mark? Well, you already kind of answered that. Your oldest one's going to come out as a 9-year.
Yeah, so Michael, that's a great question. Our standard at Watershed is we don't release any product outside of our apple brandy that's younger than 4 years old. So any bourbon that you've ever had from Watershed is 4 years or older. Same with the rye whiskey. Those are kind of on a limited release basis. But once we have our core portfolio rye whiskey come out, same thing. It won't be any younger than 5 years old. As far as our, I like to call it our vault, so to speak. We do have some 6, 7, 8-year-old bourbon that's aging, but we have some future plans for that. So we're not really going to release it yet. We're going to let it keep going.
So what do you guys have plans to just maybe try to get to a 10 or a 12 year? I mean, is that something that might be coming in the works from a Watershed maybe?
I mean, I can't say yes or no for sure, but I can tell you that like I said, those 6, 7, 8-year-old bourbons, we're going to let them keep sleeping a little longer. And then probably within the 5-year plan, we'll see some big splash as far as a high age statement from a craft Ohio distillery.
I would imagine, and this is just me going out on a limb and talking shit here, that a 10-year-old bottle of Watershed would be a hot freaking seller, man.
Yeah, I definitely have. I definitely have some ideas and some plans for some stuff.
Yeah,
that's coming. I've already, I'm checking on barrels all the time. I've got some pre-selected barrels that I'm like, man, I cannot wait to start playing with this. Cannot wait to start making a blend. Yeah, I'll say it's coming, but I can't say when it's coming.
I'll be patiently waiting. It's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there for you. If by chance you ever need an extra taster.
Yeah, I mean,
we're experience.
Yeah, we're only like 40 minutes to an hour away from you.
Yeah. I'm in Springfield. Sean's down the way, and Matt's in the big city of whatever. It's Conover or wherever the hell that's at, man. I don't know.
Conover.
I don't know.
I think he froze up on us.
Yep, he froze up again on us.
He'll be back.
Yeah. So when Ryan comes back, we'll have him talk about the Bourbon Festival that they put on every year at Watershed. I was fortunate to get invited from a guy from a local bourbon group here in the area, and it was a cool experience, man. If you ever get the chance to get the opportunity, go up to
there
Watershed.
We go. Sorry, guys, my computer died.
No, you're okay.
I'm on the phone now.
I was just telling everybody about your Bourbon Fest. We can kind of roll out, finish, talk about that. I was just telling everybody if they ever get a chance to make it up there, I highly recommend to go up to Watershed and attend their Bourbon Fest. It's an unbelievable thing, man. It really is. They go all out for it.
Now, didn't you say that you went up there with a fellow by the name of Austin Mabry?
Austin Mabry, yes.
Isn't he associated with one of our another podcast?
Mm-mm.
Well, who's the other Austin? Is it?
No, that's a whole nother Austin. You keep getting those two confused. Yeah, good try though.
No, I'm just trying to plug. American Whiskey is the podcast I'm thinking of. Let's see here.
Yeah. I used to be with American Whiskey before I was with Still Talking. Absolutely. We got to see if we get this. We need to send Ryan. There he is.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good, brother. We were filling it in. It's all good.
All right. Okay, I'm back now.
So tell everybody about this Bourbon Fest you guys put on, man. I was kind of filling everybody in. Everybody needs to check it out. Talk a little bit about your Bourbon Fest. Give the dates and location and all the good stuff about it, man.
Yeah. So we're talking about the next Bourbon Fest we're going to put on either this year or next year. We haven't decided if we're going to do a back-to-back. The original idea was to do every 2 years do a Bourbon Fest. So those conversations are kind of going on now. But if you were able to attend last year's back in September, it was amazing. Like I said, I was telling you guys earlier before we kind of got started, we pre-sold about 12 to 1,400 tickets, and we ended up with the final count, people showing up at the gate. We had about 2,500 people on site. So humongous turnout. We had food trucks, live music, tons of spirits that you could taste. Anything from our core portfolio, our fall finishing series, our limited releases we had on site. We had single barrels available for purchase. It's just an all-out bourbon nerd's dream. So if you've never been to Watershed and love bourbon, you love talking about all things from this American spirit, be on the lookout for our newsletters for our next Bourbon Fest. Like I said, not completely sure. It's not locked in if we're going to do it this year or not. But if we don't make it happen in 2026, it'll definitely be around in 2027. It's a great time.
Ryan, tell everybody how they can get. You guys have a newsletter or something? Give everybody all the info so they can get put into that loop, man.
Yeah. If you could just go to watersheddistillery.com and sign up for our email newsletter, you'll get emails with updates when we have new limited time offerings. When we have barrel sales. Last year, I did a barrel sale to the general public where you can come show up at the distillery, have some extra barrels on hand from the previous year. Sold them off for super, super dirt cheap. That's all in the emails that go out. So yeah, just watersheddistillery.com. You'll see an email sign up. Get signed up with your email, and then you'll get all of that information sent out to you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There was one question I seen, and I don't know if you answered it or not. Can you ship outside of Ohio? Like as far as any state, is there any? How does that work?
So with the state of Ohio, we are not allowed to ship direct to consumer, but we do work with some shipping agencies. So we have a really good relationship with Sealbox. If anybody is familiar with Sealbox, they carry most of our products. But as far as shipping to anyone direct to consumer, we are not allowed to do that. So you either have to come to the state of Ohio, or like I said, we work with Sealbox. They have a lot of our products. You can go to their website and pick up most of anything. They actually just did a couple single barrels with us and really early in 2025 that they did really, really well for them. So sometimes we do some single barrels through them as well.
Or get with Uncle Joey and he'll mail you some olive oil in the mail.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh, shit. Well, listen, Ryan, we've taken quite a bit of your time this evening. I really appreciate you coming on, man. You've been a wonderful guest. Listening to you talk has been awesome, dude. I really appreciate you giving us your time.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you, extending the invitation. And this was a lot of fun. We talk about, Uncle Joey, you said earlier, the big thing with spirits and bourbon is, getting people together, having a good time, shooting the shit. This is my dream right here. This is what it's all about is just getting people together and talking about it. So thank you guys for extending the invitation.
Well, listen, if you guys are ever looking for any distillers, I know a guy who likes to make liquor and could probably help you guys out. So give Sean a call. But anyway, we appreciate you, Ryan. If you ever want to come back on, if you ever have anything you want to talk about, maybe if you guys decide about your Bourbon Fest, you guys want to drop a little announcement. We are an Ohio-based podcast, so we get your word out there in the Ohio listening and viewing area, man.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. I'll let you guys know when we start to make major decisions on that. And yeah, maybe we can get back on and we can talk some more spirits and talk more about, there's still a whole Pandora's box about what goes into cask management that I'd love to talk about. So yeah, we'll try to do something again.
Well, listen, I'd love to come up and just watch what you do sometime, man.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Watershed, so maybe I can get the fellas to make a trip up there with me sometime.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to have you guys. We'll show you. We'll give you the behind the scenes tour, and yeah, we'll pull out some special barrels and we can taste through some stuff.
Hell yeah. We'll kick off of here, but hang around for a minute, Ryan. We'll talk to you for a second. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Let me look and see who we have on next week. Next week we have Dee Dee, Sunkiss Orange. We have the makeup episode. She wasn't able to make it to the last episode last week, so we have her rescheduled for Monday the 23rd. We look forward to having Dee Dee on. She was on the vodka episode of Master Distiller. So thank you, everybody. We look forward to talking to you next Monday night.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.